In episode number 232, we cover the latest additions on Netflix with March 2017.
We also had the latest movie coming out from Hayao Miyazaki. Did he stay retired? Of course he didn't. We all knew he wouldn't, please.
He's just like Mark Hamill. He's never going to stay retired.
Of course.
Our comic book highlight is Detective Comics number 951 with the League of Assassins making their DC Rebirth debut.
We also have a Nightwing solo film announced.
Right the first time. All of this and so much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
For any new listeners out there, because every episode is someone's very first episode, the way we format the show is first we cover some news, we move on to our Patreon shoutouts of the week, and then we round it off with a comic book highlight or two of the week as well.
But a segment we've been starting out with the last few episodes is a hashtag game.
Yes, this week we've got hashtag all male reboots.
Sounds lame.
My entry was breakfast at Timothy's.
That's pretty good.
Would you watch that?
Yes, only because you came up with it.
We had a couple of entries, actually a lot of entries on this one. It was pretty incredible.
So, first one we have is from @UberNerd527. This is Josh from the Arcade Archives website, who came up with Driving Mr. Daisy.
Simple enough, easy to change. We also have several from Matt on Facebook. He's from the Super Side Up podcast. Several also from Eric on Facebook. And finally, Abel, also on Facebook. They were having like a little contest, a little hashtag off out in the streets of Facebook. And it became, you're going to be the judge here,
okay.
Emperor Palpatelli, because you are the Emperor.
Yes, I am.
So here's all of the entries first from Matt, again, from the Super Side Up podcast. Mr. Congeniality.
Easy.
Larry Croft, Tomb Raider.
Now, only if this Larry is like a burly man who's very hairy and still in the tiny shorts and crop top.
It's the only way that would work. Gone Guy.
All right.
Mitch Perfect. Bridesmen.
That's not a thing.
Mean Guys.
I guess.
Mean Boys, maybe?
Maybe.
Legally Bond.
But Bond works outside the law.
G.I. Bane.
Okay, fine.
Mickey's Delivery Service. Lyle and Stitch.
All right, I'll go with that one. That one's good.
Jonathan's Body.
I don't even know what that's based off of.
And Joan of Arc. Oh, I'm sorry, John of Arc.
John of Arc. I'll take John of Arc, too.
Okay, so my two favorites from this were definitely Larry Croft and Lyle and Stitch.
Those were probably my favorites as well. John of Arc is pretty good, too.
Next entry, Emperor, it is Eric on Facebook who had Samuel's Choice, Brian Jones's Diary.
I like that one.
Bruno the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
And Raymond's Baby.
All right. Those are pretty good.
I'm going with Bruno for the best one out of this. Bruno the Vampire Slayer. And Abel, he had Handsome in Pink.
I do enjoy that one.
Bob Wire. And Sylvester the Teenage Witch.
I like that one as well.
We need a winner, Palpatelli.
Oy.
Sylvester the Teenage Witch or Handsome in Pink. Those are the two entries from Abel. Bruno the Vampire Slayer from Eric. And Matt, Larry Croft, and Lyle and Stitch.
I think Larry Croft wins this just because I imagine a burly, hairy man in tiny shorts and a crop top.
Artists out there, draw us Larry Croft, Tomb Raider.
Oi, please don't.
Do it. Yes, it needs to be a thing. Those were the hashtag games for this week. I do want to tell you, I was fooled on Netflix. You know how they always come out with these fake movies, and I fooled all of the brokettes that took my word for it as well. There are knockoff movies that you will see at the same time as a huge, popular kids movie out there. So, for example, Kung Fu Panda, the Netflix spin-off, rip-off, whatever you're going to call it, the discount Kung Fu Panda was Fighting Panda.
Yes.
There's also, instead of Happy Feet, it was Tiptoe Penguin.
Something like that, yeah.
And it's all, you get the idea. There's like these quick cash in, like sell the movie to Netflix so they can get more
Some
views
of
on
them they didn't even try. There was Aladdin and Cinderella and
Pinocchio, straight up.
Snow White.
Beauty and the Beast. Anastasia. In the same way that kids are fooled, or parents are fooled by saying, look, there's Kung Fu Panda right there. I think this is the one my kid likes, and they start watching it. I was fooled by the OJ thing, and I know some listeners are like, okay, more OJ news. Yes, but this is important. Because I was watching The People vs. OJ, which I said was the Oscar-nominated People vs. OJ. Well, it turns out that there's several OJ things out there in the works, and you had mentioned that maybe there was like a legality thing where now they can do documentaries and movies, and that ended, so that's what's happening. Well, the Oscar-nominated OJ thing is actually a documentary called OJ Made in America, or Made by America, and I just discovered it last night on Hulu. And that was when I realized, oh shit, the John Travolta OJ thing is not at all Oscar nominated like that. It is, in fact, the documentary which does a straight view at OJ, his life, how he came to be, what made him the man that he is today. And that is also like 7 hours long. So I was completely fooled. But I do not regret at all promoting the John Travolta OJ because I still enjoyed it, and I still hope you, if anyone went out there and saw it on Netflix, hope you enjoyed it as well, enjoyed the goofiness of it. But do know that the Hulu one is also very good, very funny as well, but in a serious way. Because you see some of these interviews, and some of those are a little bit goofy as well. He was seduced by white culture. I'm like, oh shit. And then there's another guy, and he goes off into how white people treated OJ, and it's like, man, you really get an insight on who he was surrounded with at the height of his fame. So there's some good stuff there, but do know that the John Travolta one is in fact not the better of the two, I guess, according to the Academy.
Speaking of the Oscars, we recently had the Broscars where we gave our winners, and the Oscars were pretty close. They were 2 for 3.
They were, yeah. They really stepped up the game compared to last year.
Yeah, and our third choice, the one that didn't win Best Picture, it still won for something. Mm-hmm. Musical.
Best Sound Design.
Yeah, Best Sound Design. So, good job on the Oscars.
Yeah, they gave Zootopia Best Animated Feature, so
it was great.
That was a
win.
win.
Can I tell you how many fights I got in? Like, because I was following it on my phone. And then I asked people at work, I'm like, so which deserves an Oscar more, Zootopia or Moana? And then people were like, oh, Moana for sure. I related so much better. I'm like, really? Because did you know Zootopia is about racism and drugs and how they used to frame black people with, like, all this stuff? And they're like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, that's why it won the Oscar. Thank you.
I brought a similar thing to my manager, and he's like, well, I don't watch for that shit. I just watch the movie and enjoy the story. So, yeah, I mean, I believe that it went over a lot of people's heads, and I thought initially children, but he was like, no, I didn't think about that at all when I was watching the movie. And I'm like, okay, well, adults too. Zootopia, well earned.
Yeah.
That's who we gave it to, not to Menorah.
Nope.
And the other one, which was the most important one we're going to cover later on in the show, you've all heard of it. But there are facts to go with where Suicide Squad sits on the history of Oscars. But real quick, going back to the world of Netflix, we have What's New on Netflix, the highlights for March 2017.
Of course, guys, this isn't the full list. We just tell you that things that pertain to us, things that we might be interested in. And you're welcome to Google search Netflix March 2017, and you can find the full list online.
First one we want to highlight here is Blazing Saddles, where I can finally watch it. Cross that off my list, right next to Ferris Bueller that I saw last year.
I feel like I watched this. It's the comedy, right? With those three guys?
With Gene Wilder, yeah.
Oh, with Gene Wilder. Maybe I didn't see this one. I felt like I've seen it once, and I was like,
Your dad talks about it all the time.
Oh, then I must have seen it, and I must not have liked it that much.
Where all the white women at?
I don't know.
You would have remembered that.
I probably
I don't
would've.
think you've seen it
Probably
in a while,
not.
if anything.
We can watch it next month.
This month. Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park 2, which is The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3 are coming right back to Netflix.
You know, I'm going to have to rewatch Jurassic Park 1 because I remember that being so cool as a kid. My brother was 3 years old, got it at VHS at a yard sale, loved it.
It's still cool.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it was on Netflix less than a year ago. Coming right back, contract renewals.
Good.
Still looks great. The T-Rexes look amazing. The animatronics look fantastic.
It's such a... I feel like it's an old movie now, too. It's at least 20 years old.
Yes.
And for it to still hold up that well, shows you don't need CG for everything.
Correct. Well, yes. Or it can be done right. Like the T-Rex, it was done very well. Kung Fu Panda, not Fighting Panda. So no longer will Fighting Panda get all the views.
Fighting Panda is still on there, so...
So people will still get confused. Don't worry. Midnight in Paris. Love that movie. Bought it as soon as it came out on Blu-ray.
There's also The Water Boy. Never seen this one.
That was back at the height of Adam Sandler's popularity.
Ugh, I don't like Adam Sandler. I'm not watching it.
Pete's Dragon, which is part of the Disney deal. Along with the BFG.
The Big Fucking Giant?
Yeah. Did you hear anything about... Did anyone see that?
No. Nobody saw it. I heard nothing about that. Was that a Disney movie?
It was.
Was that really a Disney movie?
Yes.
No. Nobody that I know saw it.
Coraline, the last really good stop-motion animated feature.
Really
that
scary,
was excellent.
too.
Yeah, and it's fucking creepy.
Yeah. Marvel's Iron Fist Season 1.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. And the last one we want to highlight is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, also returning to Netflix after about a year now that it's been off of there.
I never understood how he got Jessica. How did that happen?
Who, Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
There's a scene or two where she talks about what she loves so much. And he says, Bob Hoskins, I don't know what you see in that guy. And she talks about what she actually loves about Roger Rabbit. Out of all these movies, obviously I want to see Blazing Saddles, but if you haven't seen Midnight in Paris, and this is the one that probably gives off the best message from the list, it's all about the Golden Age fallacy. It's about you forever thinking that the older times were better, when in fact there were problems back then as well, and the quality of art or music or movies is not getting better or worse as we move forward in the aspect of a generation looking at it. Because he goes back into a different period in which he romanticized as the greatest moment of art in humans, that all they can do. And then an artist in that time period is like, no, the previous generation had the best artwork. This is not the greatest. We're going down. And he says, are you kidding me? No, this is clearly better. So it just sends out that message of art can be appreciated in various forms at different time periods. And it's not getting worse. It's not getting better. It's changing. It's being appreciated in a different way for different people. And you're not going to like everything that's out there, and you're not supposed to. Not everything is meant for you. And that's the main message from Midnight in Paris.
It's been several years since I've seen the movie, and I've only seen it once, so I don't remember it quite as much as you do. But I do remember really loving and enjoying the movie. So yes, if you haven't seen it, check it out.
We talked about the Mark Hamill of animation. After announcing his latest, I guess he is fucking animated anyway, latest retirement in 2013, animation director Hayao Miyazaki has begun quote-unquote prep work on another animated feature, according to Studio Ghibli producer Toshio Suzuki during an Academy Award press event.
We all knew he wouldn't stay in retirement. These movies are what he does. It's his passion. And I've learned through my dad that many people, they retire and then they need something to do, and they go back to work. And that's exactly what happened.
This is going to be a man that will continue to work on animated features, I think, until his very last day. I think
of course.
He will be mid-project or just about to release. He will be in the middle of releasing something when he passes on. He can't stay away, nor should he, because people want him on the projects. He has stepped away from the company, and the company hasn't done as well as when he was in it. And because of that, a lot of the animators have left and gone on to different companies, even formed their own. But I think when he returns and he is back, he's doing something else, we will see what we missed from the Studio Ghibli films up to this point.
This film has not yet been titled, but is set to release sometime in 2020.
Which is your favorite Studio Ghibli film?
Ponyo.
Ponyo of all time?
Yes, I love Ponyo. I really like Spirited Away a lot. That was one of my favorites for a long time.
It's the Academy Award winner. That's the big one. Everyone loves that one. They release it all the time in theaters and people flock to it.
It's great. I do like Howl's Moving Castle a lot too. Those are probably my top 3.
It's tough to say for me. I think Ponyo is definitely, I've probably seen that more than any of the other Studio Ghibli films, so I'd have to agree with you. But Spirited Away would probably be I guess overall it's just done better. Howl's Moving Castle was also very good. I'm going to say Ponyo as well. It's simple. It's the Little Mermaid.
It's real cute. The thing that I think puts Spirited Away a step above is it felt like it had a very complete, thought out plot. Whereas Ponyo, halfway through, they go, you must go on a crazy journey. And they go through a tunnel. And will you love her forever? I will. You're together now. The world is saved.
Yeah, it has its issues.
But it's still so cute.
Keep coming back to it. I don't know what it is
and
about
it's got Liam Neeson. I think it's because you think I look like Ponyo.
You do look like Ponyo. You make the best Ponyo face.
I do make great Ponyo faces.
A majority of our news today, Brokettes, will be for the DCEU, which I guess is officially what it's called, the DC Extended Universe. I still called it the DC Cinematic Universe because that's what Marvel did, but it's DCEU. And we have the latest addition to the director's chair after Affleck stepped down.
Warner Brothers has officially announced that the director for the upcoming solo Batman film will be War for the Planet of the Apes director Matt Reeves.
So initially talks fell through, but then suddenly he's back on the project and officially on there. Could also be the millions of clickbait articles out there. You always want to wait to see what happens. And in this case, there's more to it. But first, a quote from Mr. Matt Reeves.
Quote, I have loved the Batman story since I was a child. He is such an iconic and compelling character, and one that resonates with me deeply. I am incredibly honored and excited to be working with Warner Brothers to bring an epic and emotional new take on the Caped Crusader to the big screen. End quote.
And this was all via The Hollywood Reporter. Days after this announcement, Ben Affleck tweeted out a picture of Batman in the Batcave looking at the monitor, the Batcomputer, and he said, "Congratulations, Matt Reeves, welcome to the Batcave." And this very quickly put aside those rumors that he was going to leave the project, he was not going to do the Batman, from this one source, and it seems like no one dug because everyone kept pointing to the exact same source, and instead of going to there and reading what he actually said, they just read the Bleeding Cool or Newsarama article and immediately tweeted or Facebooked about it. Affleck, Warner Brothers is in trouble, he wants to leave, this is the best part of the DCEU. Well, it turns out that the guy that came out with this said, I've got 3 unnamed sources that I really, really trust that are saying that Ben Affleck wants to get out of the DC movies. And I know I don't have the best track record, but I really mean it this time. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, this is worse than like Latino Review. Why is everyone making a story on this?
What people don't understand is Affleck's probably in a contract for a long time. He can't just leave.
There are ways to get out of the contracts, yes, but the way that Affleck has been acting still on Twitter, on Facebook, it's not of a guy that wants to leave all of these movies and leave that giant paycheck, and arguably the projects where he's going to be seen the most for the foreseeable future. So in this case, yes, he's going to work with Matt Reeves on the movie. He seems like he's fine with it. Sounded like there were issues with Warner Brothers and Affleck on scheduling is what it turns out to be, I think, as far as his other projects. But, I mean, aside from that, he's going to be in the Batman. He's happy to have Matt Reeves on.
It's probably less stress off his shoulders, too, because he doesn't have to worry about directing it and acting and writing. And that would just be a lot of pressure to put on somebody.
And people constantly asking him, what's going on with the Batman? What's the release date? Is it not Deathstroke anymore? What's happening? And sure, he's still getting some of that, but now Matt Reeves is getting some of that, too. So that's being split at least partially. There is still currently no theatrical release date for the Batman. Still want to see Deathstroke? Are you on board? Or if they change that, would you be against it?
I think it's going to be cool, whatever they do. I'm neutral all the time now.
Yes.
Always neutral, always neutral. Again, and I've said this many times, I feel that they have the viewer's best interest at heart. Would Deathstroke be really cool? Yes, and I think you would get a whole lot of fans hyped up about that, especially since it appears that we've already seen some footage of that. I don't know necessarily that, I know they're redoing the script. I don't know that they're necessarily going to scrap the whole story just because they have a new director. If they came up with a story that they think will work just because it's not pieced together the right way, doesn't necessarily mean that they won't use that same story.
And now that the concept art for Suicide Squad has released, we know that at one point they were going to reuse the Scarecrow in the Suicide Squad film. And that concept art, if you haven't seen it yet, is closest to definitely much closer than what Batman Begins did, but they were going in a way different direction. They're trying to make it look more like the comics now, since that's what audiences like and identify with, and they are going to pay to see that. It's no longer considered goofy. And this concept art, if you haven't seen it, Brokettes, go ahead and Google Scarecrow Suicide Squad concept art. you will see it. It's got the big scarecrow hat like you've seen in the comics, and you haven't seen that. Cillian Murphy didn't have that. The mask, which is a little bit harder to see, but then it looked like a poncho on the scarecrow,
yeah,
but
kinda.
he had the scythe.
Mm-hmm.
That scary looking fucking scythe was on there.
Yeah, he was really scary. It looked like it really looked like a scarecrow that somebody just kind of threw together and, stuck up there to scare away crows, but it's a person.
Yes.
Which makes it even scarier.
It's like the Goosebumps episode where they were running through the corn maze, and then they had that scarecrow that came to life.
No,
and ran around.
I didn't watch those shows. Okay, they scared me.
Well, this scarecrow would have scared you too.
Yeah, probably. I saw the concept art. It scared me then also.
So speaking of Suicide Squad, we know it won the Oscars, but it also won an Academy Award at this year's Oscars for Best Hair and Makeup.
That made me so happy. I actually got into a fight with somebody about this too.
Love this story.
Because somebody posted on Facebook. It was a side-by-side picture, and on one side you see Harley with her makeup all runny, and on the other side is some alien, and I don't even know what movie it's from.
It's from Star Trek Beyond, because that was also nominated.
Oh, okay, from Star Trek Beyond, and it's an alien, and it's all intricate with all this little headpiece and alien something, and the caption was just the one on the left lost for best, makeup, and the one on the right won. And somebody just posted it up there.
I've seen that same picture going on Twitter, yeah.
And so then I commented with, but what about Killer Croc? And the person responded with, that was all CG. And somebody beat me to it. They got on there and said, actually, except for like the swimming scenes, his makeup was actual makeup. Mm-hmm. None of it was CG. And I was like, that's correct. And the person just goes, well, damn.
Even when they showed like nominations and they have like the movie clip, the one they show is Killer Croc when he's up against the jail cell talking to Rick Flag, and then he turns around and like that's the closest look you get at the makeup in the entire film, and it looks fucking incredible. And we said it when we reviewed Suicide Squad. We said it when we saw the first trailer to Suicide Squad. Props to them for not going with a full CG character of Killer Croc. They went with makeup, and it looked fantastic. Mm-hmm.
And they very easily could have just made it CG. Said, make it CG, stick him in a green suit, forget about it. But they didn't, and it was great. And then all the costumes, I mean, if we want to talk about that as part of it too, it matched so well and held so true to the characters that we see in the comic books.
Yeah, I mean, except for Joker.
Well, except for, yeah, but no, Joker wore weird suits.
He's had tattoos in the All-Star Batman.
Listen, I'm talking about the costumes here.
Okay.
But it stayed pretty true. Yes.
Sure.
Am I wrong?
Katana definitely looked like Katana. Harley looked like Harley.
There you go. And some those superhero outfits are hard to do, man. They don't work right.
Batman looked like Batman.
I've seen how the women dress in comics. That's not possible. What was it? We were playing Telltale Games, and there's a moment where Bruce and Selena are getting it on, and I'm like, she couldn't wear that bra and jump around.
What a great game, by the way.
Yes,
I know we've talked about it, but we just finished chapter 3 out of 5. And there's some harder fucking decisions coming up. Like earlier should we break the guy's arm? I don't know. They're like, what kind of Batman? Like now it's more like, do you want to save this person's life? Or do you want to save this person's life? You as a Batman fan, you care about both. Who do you want to save? It's like, fuck, man, I don't know. Like we have to pause the game and debate it among ourselves. And the issue again is, well, what would Kevin Conroy, Batman the Animated Series Batman do? Well, we found out that that's not always the right answer or the way we want it to go. And that happened in the fucking Arkham games as well with Mr. Freeze when we tried to do the right decision, or Ra's al Ghul. Save Ra's al Ghul, but then these guys die. It's like, no, this isn't how it should happen, but we're not right. We're not writing the game, so we don't know what the writers had in mind.
Whoever wrote this, though, did such a great job. And can I say that I called it? You can never say that I'm wrong about anything ever again.
You did call the villain to this.
I'm like 5 for 5 at this point. On big things.
You called the villain to Batman's Telltale Games.
Yes.
I called the villain to Arkham Knight before the game fucking released and ruined that.
That was only because Arkham Knight was being real whiny.
Such a fucking obvious one, too. There's no way I'm the only one that said, that's the fucking Red Hood. And then when you play the game, you're like, yeah, that's definitely the Red Hood. And then you get to the end of the game, oh, well, is it someone under the Red Hood? Because this is the surprise here? It's that the Red Hood? No, there's got to be something else. Nope, that's the game. Enjoy. And this came out years ago, all right? So anyone that's whining about spoilers, you had plenty of time to play Arkham Knight. And trust me, it's not a surprise. If you're a Batman fan, you know that's Jason Todd.
Like from the beginning, the first time he talked.
As soon as he starts whining about, you old man, you could have saved, you don't know who you can save. You're not good at saving anyone. Oh, it's definitely Jason Todd
Robin.
for sure.
What are you doing, Robin?
Robin, knock it off. Get these fucking soldiers out of Gotham. God damn it. Batman, let's go fucking talk to this kid. Knock that fucking red helmet off his goddamn face. Make him a Robin again.
Go get back to important things. There's real villains out there.
If you want, I'll call you Robin Hood, but I'm not going to call you Red Hood. That's not going to happen. Awful name, but he chose Red Hood.
So great job to Suicide Squad. It is now tied for the number of Academy Awards won with Citizen Kane. You just say that to make people mad.
Right up there with Citizen Kane in number of Academy Awards.
What does Citizen Kane win for?
Well, that's the whole point, because as soon as they announced the winner, that Suicide Squad was an Oscar-nominated film, and now it's an Oscar winner. It's an Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad. And now I'm going to keep saying it, because one, it's another way to troll, but two, it's to drive the point that this wasn't like a plot thing. It wasn't like this is a movie itself, quality, this is why it won. It was makeup. It was a makeup, and that can be done on any movie at all. It can be done on the worst movies ever. It can be done on the best movies ever. The Room could have had the best makeup in the world and had the shitty acting, and who knows? It could have won. The whole point is that people are acting as if this thing got Best Picture, and it did not. Yes, it's an Oscar-winning movie, but anything that has won for Best Sound, The Arrival is now the Academy Award-winning Arrival. It's not. It doesn't carry the weight that people think it does.
For Best Picture, yeah. Should have won.
It should have fucking won for Best Picture.
I don't know.
Holy
we haven't
shit.
seen Moonlight.
As of today, it should have won Best Picture. That sticker, that Oscar sticker is already on Arrival. So I'm not going to change my mind. I might change my mind.
Well, we have to watch Moonlight and see. The rest I don't care about. They're not Oscar winners.
No, we have to see Hell or High Water.
Oh, okay.
At John72Text has been very clear that is a must-see. And he also recommended Sicario, which was fucking excellent. So.
Is he over here like, watch it or I'll delete all your shows? Oh, okay.
He doesn't need to threaten me. I'll watch Hell or... That's been on my radar, Hell or High Water, ever since I saw that trailer. But the problem with all of these Oscar-nominated films is they release in such a limited period of time, and then it's only after they're nominated or after they release that they start putting them out in theaters. And we chose to see Arrival and La La Land, and unfortunately missed out on everything else. Although those movies might be back on for AMC screenings now that was it Moonshine or Moonlight?
Moonlight.
Now that Moonlight won, I'm sure you'll see it in theaters this week. However, in March, this month, we've got Beauty and the Beast, we've got Kong Skull Island, we've got Logan. We're going to be at the movie theaters every fucking week.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know which one I'm most excited for.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'm not most excited for Kong Skull Island.
It's going to connect to Godzilla, though.
Okay, but it's going to be written by a 15-year-old.
So what? Did you like the first one? You liked the first one.
What happened in the first one?
It had Quicksilver from the Avengers movies. It had the Scarlet Witch, also from the Avengers movies.
I didn't see the first one.
You didn't see it where he ripped open the monster's mouth and fire breathed into it and killed
Godzilla?
it? Yes, Godzilla.
Oh, yeah. I loved Godzilla.
Okay,
but is Godzilla actually going to be in Kong?
We don't know.
Or is it just going to maybe tie in? Wait till the end.
It definitely
and then
ties...
you'll hear, "Where?"
Just the roar. That'd be such a cheesy fucking way
That's
to tie
what's
it
going to happen. I'm calling it. I'm 5 for 5 right now.
We'll find out. I have some guesses, but I don't want them to inadvertently spoil anything for anyone that does want to see Kong.
It's going to happen right at the end of the credits, too.
I'll tell you after we record what I think is going to happen.
I think at the end of the credits, you're going to hear, "Ooh!"
Is that the Godzilla roar?
Yeah.
Give it your best one again.
You do a better one.
No, it's better. It's not good. It's not a good one. What was yours again? Just for comparison.
I can't now.
I'm going traditional with mine.
No, he goes.
That's the 2015 Godzilla.
Oh, probably. That's the Palma Kelly Godzilla. Is there some way you could make that the title of the episode?
Well, according to comics, it's written Skronk, Skronk. or NK. I don't know how they do it, but every comic one book does like the sound lines around Godzilla. So instead of like the written noise, they just do sound waves, which is kind of cool because, I mean, it's really hard to write that fucking.
You can't write sound effect. How would you write that? Like lowercase C's, and then you need like capitals in there so you know that it gets higher.
Dollar signs.
Mm-hmm.
Emojis.
So Godzilla's just cussing all over the place?
It could be.
Dollar signs, stars, @ symbols, exclamation marks.
There's no way Godzilla has never once cussed in Godzilla speak in all of the movies.
That's probably what he's saying the whole time, like when they're shooting lasers at him. Fuck,
man, guys. Jesus Christ. God damn it. Here comes the fucking fire breath. Here we go. And then he fucking throws that shit out there. And some of those movies get really bloody. He absolutely curses in Godzilla.
He's got to. There's no way he doesn't. That would make him way cooler, too. If he was just, like, fed up like it was his Monday, and he's like, fuck it.
I came out here to save you guys, and you're fighting me with Mecha Godzilla? God damn it.
I'm trying to save you from this weird-ass alien shit.
How excited are you, though, that we now know that Godzilla King of the Monsters comes out 2019, is going to have Godzilla, Mothra, and Ghidorah, which we knew about from the first film, and then Rodan on top of that. We knew
about Mothra from the first film.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We knew about Mothra from the first film, and we knew that Monster Zero was going to be in that one,
Love
too.
Monster Zero.
Big references to them in the first one.
What noise does he make?
I'm not even going to try to imitate, but that's definitely
Great at Pokemon noises. I'm great at Godzilla monster noises.
But how cool is that?
It's pretty amazing. I'm really excited.
I know you're not crazy about Mothra. I love Mothra.
No, I don't like Mothra.
Two favorite monsters are Mothra and King Caesar.
So, my little brother, some background story, was a huge dinosaur nerd. Like, the biggest dinosaur nerd growing up. So, that's why he had all the Jurassic Park videos. I watched him. He had all the toys. Yes, all the toys. He had all the Godzilla videos and toys, too. And so I used to watch them with him because we only had one TV, and fuck it, you want to watch something, you watch what your little brother's watching.
Can you believe that, kids? One television.
One television.
And no cell phones.
No. Oh, no. No computer. I didn't get internet until I was in 6th grade. And then I could only get on it if nobody else was on the phone or planning to use the phone.
As soon as someone picked up that phone, like, fuck, sign me out. It was
gone. Because you had to go, that's how you signed on to the internet.
I was downloading this wallpaper for half an hour. What are you doing? It was almost done. Remember that?
For a wallpaper.
Or we just got like the little.
Yes. My favorite websites were, do you remember the Angel Fire websites?
I remember. And GeoCities?
Yes, and GeoCities. And they have the cheesiest backgrounds, like spinning roses with sparkles or little flames. And they played like real. I want to call it 8-bit music, but that's not what it is. Like real robotic music of popular songs.
It's one thing I joked about with my manager, Chris, because he does a lot of coding, or at least he's trying to get back into it. And at the time I was, working on the new website, thereasonsim'broke.com. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. And I asked him, how can I get like the glittering roses, the flaming skull, little effects? He didn't find it funny.
I thought it was great. They were awesome.
What about the neon green text against like a yellow background?
Yes. And you used to have to highlight it to be able to read it. Oh, man, those were the days. Oh, can I tell you I still miss my MySpace?
I only miss it for like, I guess the people I used to know through there.
No. I missed it for the customization. Like, I had my cool background and then my little music to go with my mood so that when my boyfriend broke up with me in high school, I could be all sad about it. And then I could be all girl power, like, I'm going to find somebody someday.
Play some Usher?
Yeah, no, I didn't
You
play
don't have
Usher.
to call?
Anyway, going back to Mothra, the only thing I remember from that movie was the little singing girls.
Yep.
And they just sang forever.
Do they need to have the singing girls?
No, get rid of them.
The biggest fans are like, put some reference to it. Like,
there's going to be some reference to it in there.
A twin program that sends out a certain frequency. You can do it that way. It's a computer program.
All I remember is them singing, and I hated their song. And they were just like, la, 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 la. I don't even know how the song went, because I hated it that much. Do
you like the King Caesar one? Was that one better?
I never saw the King Caesar one. We didn't own that one.
I'm going to show that one to you on YouTube, but it's just one lady she's singing. The only thing you recognize is she says, Caesar, over and over again. And then like another, I don't know what the lyrics are, but she's on the beach, so hopeful, singing to him. And I think she describes him as like a god of sorts to these people.
What if she's just calling him lazy? Like, Caesar, wake up, you lazy bum.
He's like, what motherfuckers? And he busts out of the fucking mountain. The greatest. Love King Caesar. We won't see him, but love that we get Mothra. You love Monster Zero. Mm-hmm. And Rodan was, he had his own movie at one point.
Was he like the giant flying thing?
Yes, like the big pterodactyl looking.
Yeah. And he fell into like the lake and they fought in the lake. That's all I remember.
They've shown from what I tried to find the exact concept art, but apparently they've already shown the concept art from Mothra and Rodan. And I've seen a lot of them, and none of them have like a definitive source to it, so I'm not buying into any of them. But people on Reddit that actually saw this reveal at Comic-Con said that it was basically just like, no, there wasn't really concept art. It was like a who's that Pokemon type of thing, where you just see silhouette of the creature's concept art, and that was it.
Can we talk about Who's That Pokemon for a second? I am the fucking boss at Who's That Pokemon. It used to be on Hey You Pikachu. Do you remember?
I barely played that game. I did not like it.
No, I love that game. You could go and play Who's That Pokemon, right? And then you tell Pikachu, you're like, it's this Pokemon! And the bubble went into his head and he'd like clicked a button or whatever. And then they had this one that was just a circle. And the first time I was like, the fuck? It's a Voltorb. I don't know. It was the top of Jigglypuff's head. Like, you all are assholes. Fucking trolls.
So they did the exact same thing from the anime.
Was that in the anime?
Yes, there was an episode and Ash goes to a Pokemon Academy.
That's right.
And one of the things, he gets every question wrong, and you think like, oh yeah, that's the right answer. It's a Voltorb, or it's an Electrode, and yeah, it's the top of Jigglypuff's head.
Well, yeah, that's what they did. And I only missed it once. That was a hard game, man. Haunters kept stealing my Poliwags.
We gotta get back on Suicide Squad, because that's not all for the movie, or the future of this now franchise.
So the now Oscar-winning Suicide Squad director, David Ayer, recently tweeted a comic book panel featuring Black Mask.
That's all it was.
That's it.
Just a picture.
Just a picture.
No text, nothing. But many have taken this as a hint, and I do believe it, that Black Mask will be at least one of the villains in Gotham City Sirens.
Let me tell you, if I were a director, I would just be tweeting out shit all day. Just panels of stuff.
Condiment King.
Sewer King.
Quilt Man.
And people would be like, oh, this is going to be in the movie. And I'd be like, haha, suckers. And none of it would be in the movie. I'd just be trolling people.
I'd do the Phantasm and really get some head spinning. Like, what the fuck is he doing? The Phantasm? Holy shit. So even Paul Dini's like, wait a minute. They're not paying me for that. I haven't gotten a paycheck for that. But to anyone that wants to track down the first appearance of Black Mask, it is in 1985's Batman number 386. Alter ego, of course, is Roman Sionis.
Didn't we see him in a game? Which game was he in?
Arkham City.
I didn't like him.
Well, they hinted at him in Arkham City, and then he showed up in Arkham Origins.
Yes, I didn't like him.
He also showed up in the animated feature where it was the Joker one with the Red Hood, Under the Red Hood. That's what it was. He's an okay villain. I don't know what they're going to do with him in the Sirens. He's more of a Kingpin type of character.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be Selina's working for him and something happens and he's coming after her. You know, Under the Red Hood sounds like a cheesy romance novel, now that I think about it.
Great book, though. Awesome comic.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see if it's even true. He could be like me and just trolling us all.
Are we going to see Joker in the Gotham City Sirens film?
Yeah, he's going to show up. Or there will be some nod to him at some point. This may be a Harley that's like, yeah, I'm getting away from the Joker. I don't need him. I'm just going to hang out with my girls. But you're going to see some part of him somewhere.
Will we see the Batman?
Yeah, of course. Why not? He and Selina got
And finally, are we going to get the two things? Origins of the Gotham City Sirens. We know Harley's already. And the creation of the team. Will they already be a team, or are we going to see them team up in this film?
I think we will see them team up very early on in the film. They'll probably already be friends. They'll hint that they met each other somehow. Maybe we'll see a flashback to it. But I think we'll see them team up very early on for a like cause. And then, of course, they got to break up in the middle and then get back together.
Maybe Black Mask in the middle of the movie, or throughout the film, his actions have caused the three of them to come together based on each one being affected by something differently. So yeah, I think if Black Mask is the main antagonist of the movie, he will be what brings them together.
We do have even more DC movie news, though. Lego Batman movie director Chris McKay is in talks to direct a live-action Nightwing film, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
Out of goddamn left field, I never guessed that this was going to happen. This was not in any of the slate of movies that DC supposedly was going to put together, Warner Brothers was going to put together, and I never would have guessed. If someone had asked me, do you think they're going to do a solo Nightwing film, I would have been like, hell no. They're doing Justice League 1 and 2 first, they're doing Suicide.
If somebody said, do you think Lego Batman director is going to direct a live-action movie?
Holy shit. No, and now they are, this is all... there's no way the general public is not for this. Lego Batman was generally well received by both DC and Marvel fans, and the fact that his name is attached to that movie and now Nightwing, it is going to only resonate really well with viewers. If he can keep that same type of positive energy from Lego Batman and somehow apply it into Nightwing, who is a lighter toned character, this will definitely, I think, will work. Nightwing is a character that has a huge, huge fan base. Massive fucking fan base. There's no doubt about that. So this movie will rake in the Nightwing fans. It'll rake in the people invested in the DCEU, and also all of the viewers that are just out there to watch a comic book film.
And I think that lighter tone is exactly why they chose him for this film. Because Lego Batman movie was a very light, very fun movie. The same way that Nightwing is. You know, he's fighting these villains, but he's making jokes too, and he's flying around with his ass out in the air. I don't know.
People compare him to the Spider-Man of the DC
Correct.
universe.
And that's what I was going to say. Very similar feel. And then at the same time, there was still emotion behind Lego Batman. Granted, not as deep as it could have gotten, but it was still there. And so he can bring that same lightness to this, and I think he can still tap into those emotions as well.
You mentioned the Lego Batman movie. Dick Grayson last appeared as his big screen appearance was in Lego Batman. And before that was Batman and Robin.
Was that the suit with the nipples?
Yes, but also, you know, a lot of people say Batman and Robin's the one with the nipples, but Batman Forever had nipples on the suit too, and it seems like people give that a pass. I don't know why.
I think because Robin's suit was lighter, so they really stood out more. Didn't he wear a white suit at one point?
Sort of. They at the end of the movie they wear like a silver lined. It's still like black, but it's got a lot of silver on it. It really weird looking, but yeah, they definitely stood out then for sure.
I remember all the Batmans hanging from Taco Bell. Do you remember when Taco Bell decorated for that movie?
No, I completely missed out on that.
Taco Bell decorated for that movie, and they had like streamers everywhere, and Poison Ivy, and Mr. Freeze, and Batman and Robin, and we were all excited, and we used to go home, me and all the street kids, and we'd be like, yeah.
Kids.
All the kids on the street.
On the neighborhood.
Yes.
In a cul-de-sac?
Yes. We did have a cul-de-sac, thank you. And we said, cool, let's play Batman and Robin. And I always got to be Poison Ivy because I had the red hair. And I was the white one. So there was that too.
You had to be.
Yes. I chose to be. I was also the oldest, so I got to make these decisions.
The bulk of what we're going to cover in the Nightwing film, and there's plenty to say, but it spins off of this week's Nerd Rage Reaction! Am I turning into Shazam like 17 times?
No. What happens in DBZ when they transform?
Everything happens.
You got rocks crumbling, you got mountains being destroyed, you got some lightnings out there, you got waves crashing, you got rain going on. I got to do a lot of different sounds, okay?
Except for Nerd Rage.
Wait, what was my Godzilla noise?
So Nerd Rage Reaction is a quote, a comment on the internet, either Facebook, Twitter, that we found funny, irrational, illogical, or just something we can poke fun at. We're not going to give you the name or exactly where we found it. You're more than welcome to try to look yourself, but otherwise, here is this week's Nerd Rage Reaction to the Nightwing solo live-action film announcement.
I think DC doesn't know how to do things slow. People are going to miss out on one of the best parts of Nightwing, his transformation from Robin to Nightwing. that was the best part?
He wants to...
What?
He wants to see the part where... You're too dark for me, Batman. I'm gonna go to a different city.
Well, and what's to say that we won't see that?
We're gonna see that.
Of course
We're
we
gonna
are.
see that.
It's not going to be like he wants it to be, where it's a whole film about Robin transforming into Nightwing and making the decision.
That's never gonna happen.
It's going to start off in Bloodhaven, where he's sitting there on a roof, tracking some guys, thinking back to him and Batman and their split, and we're going to learn about it that way.
And maybe the way he handles the situation at the end of the film is going to reflect on how him choosing not to do it as Batman would is how it actually resolves better in the end. That's what, at least I guess I would do if I were writing this. But this isn't going to be all about, like, at the end of it, he churns into Nightwing, and the next movie we'll see him as... No. We don't have that kind of time.
Nobody wants to see that anyway, and except this one person.
Exactly. That's something I keep hearing, too, is that they're not taking their time with these. There's no time, guys. We don't know how long this is going to stay hot. You know, you got to strike when the iron's hot.
We're all getting old here.
Fucking next year, superhero movies could be lower than this year's. Who knows? We don't know. They got to pump this shit out when they can and make the money while they still can.
Or they could keep winning Oscars. We've already had one win an Oscar.
That's true. Yep. Already one of the DCEU films has an Oscar.
Marvel's never won an Oscar.
I'm sure they have.
Nope.
One of them's got to have one.
Marvel?
Yeah, I'm sure the Avengers got one.
No.
We'll have to look that up later, but I'm almost sure that they have one. The Dark Knight definitely got one. We know that from the DC side.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, for Heath Ledger. Best supporting actor, remember that?
Oh, because he died.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It was a great performance either way.
It was.
Awesome, and glad that there's a Joker out there that has an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's no time to, again, just slowly build up. Like, well, first you got to have Dick Grayson as Robin, and then you got to have him turn into Nightwing. And they showed that dead Robin costume, but we want to see his story too. There's fucking stop. This is already... this is rolling. There's been several Robins. That's the story that we've established to this point. It's kind of like Frank Miller's Dark Knight mixed with the New 52. And there's a history already there. And you will see the origins of Nightwing, how he went from Robin into Nightwing. But more importantly, it is a film that is going to follow, as I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest DC characters in modern times, at least. You know, Nightwing is, compared to the rest of the DC universe, a relatively newer character. Not as new as Harley Quinn, but holy shit, that popularity to build up as much as it has. Something about the character resonates with a lot of people. And at the time that it did, his creation was around, he had his Nightwing book. It appealed a lot to the younger readers, and it still does to this day. There's a generation after generation that sees Batman. It's like, okay, well, that's the older authority to the Bat family. Maybe not something that someone in their teens is going to relate to. Instead, you've got Diet Batman. You know, it's Nightwing. He's softer. He's not going to be as brooding. He's not going to be as dark. He's not going to be as hard on criminals. But he's also going to be lighter, and he's going to be jokey, what someone younger would probably do, as opposed to Batman, who takes care of fucking business. And the fact that they're continuing this character, there are more people, and there are still a lot of kids that do ask for Nightwing comics, and they have a Nightwing ongoing. They ask for Red Hood because, again, that's rebellion symbolized in the Bat family. Not necessarily Nightwing, but this is like, and Nightwing is like Diet Red Hood. You know, it all continues into what appeals to a lot of kids and teenagers, and what are now adults when they were reading those books.
If they do this movie, and it's still up in the air, because again, like you said, it came way out of left field, out of nowhere. They could always come back and say, nah, it's not going to happen. It'll get a lot of views, though. 2
questions. Will we see any of the Teen Titans in Nightwing?
No.
Second question. We'll probably see Batgirl, since there's rumors that she's going to be in the Gotham City Sirens. How about Deathstroke? He's already going to be established, as far as we know, in the Batman film and possibly in this year's Justice League. But he has some pretty big stories on Dick Grayson.
He does. I don't think we'll see that either. I think if we see this movie, it's going to be very much himself establishing himself in the city. And it's going to be going after the bigwigs of that city, the kingpin of that city, so to say. So it's going to be him trying to juggle his life between being Dick Grayson and making a name for himself there. Because doesn't he join the police force or something?
That I couldn't tell you. I did not follow.
I read it in a fan fiction somewhere.
Nightwing fan.
So it's going to be him having a real job there, maybe going to school, whatever he's doing, and then him trying to balance being Nightwing as well. I could almost see them going more towards kind of the Spider-Man feel, where it's for a little bit of a younger audience. Of, oh, look, he's trying to juggle his life, and it's so hard, just like your life right now. Doo, 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 doo.
We'll see Batman, though. Batman's going to be there.
Yeah, I'm sure Batman will show up and be like, what are you doing? Come back to Gotham. I'm not your Robin anymore.
Title suggestions for the movie, Kelly.
I'm not your Robin anymore.
That's a good one. I put up Nightwing, Forever Robin.
Okay.
And I put another one on Twitter. It was like, Nightwing, no, I'm Nightwing now. Stop calling me Robin. Please stop calling me Robin.
I will accept that one as well.
Can't wait to see it. I was talking to Cuban Slim earlier this week about it. And we came to the realization that they're going to come out with the very first pop whose ass is very well defined.
Yes.
And the first pop who is packaged backwards. So it's just,
so we just see his ass.
First thing you see is the ass. The fucking ass.
I wouldn't be surprised if during auditions they're like, now turn around.
If you are listening to this and you're auditioning for Nightwing, you better wear the tightest goddamn jeans.
Squats.
And you better do some fucking squats. Wear those jeans from the infomercials that like have padding on them.
Yeah, the ones that really define.
Yes, like if you're out of time, like just wear those, and
just
later
go in
on
some
you
yoga
can,
pants.
You can.
you're gonna be wearing a lot of spandex anyway.
Build up the glutes.
Just show up in some yoga pants.
And if there's not a single ass joke, it is not a Nightwing movie.
Nope. There's something where they like highlight his ass in one scene. It's got to happen.
I do like that. That's who he's sort of become now, like the ass of the DC universe.
It's not our fault that they drew it very well defined.
Unmistakable ass. He should probably hide that thing somehow because people are going to they're going to figure out who he is.
Yeah,
he already doesn't hide most of his head.
That's true. He just wears that little mask and thinks it does something. No, Robin, please.
At least like a. Not maybe not a cape, but like a skirt just to cover that ass a little bit.
Or when he's in regular clothes, he could just wear really big pants.
There you go.
That would help.
That's probably easier.
Instead of wearing a skirt, yes.
Fucking hula skirt.
A hula skirt? How do you get to a hula skirt?
I don't know when we're going to see this Nightwing solo film. But I'd be more interested to see what the DCEU slate looks like now. Mm-hmm. After we've had revisions and date moves with the Batman, and now Justice League 1 and 2, I guess, has been merged together. We're going to see maybe we'll see some Darkseid in this year's movie, and it won't necessarily be a cliffhanger. One of the writers, like mid last year, had said that initially they wanted to split the movies up, but they realized that audiences kind of want to see the payoffs sooner rather than later. And I think with the reception that the DC movies have had so far with people, in which in their minds there's an uphill battle, even though the movies are making a shit ton of money, which I don't understand that, but in their mind there's some kind of fictional race between companies to win, I don't know what first, but not Academy Award, I guess. Suicide Squad, congratulations, DC, you did it. But yeah, I think we'll see this. I'm going to say after 2020. I'm going to go after 2020.
I would say by 2020. Let's see, we're in 2017. Yeah, I say 2020.
If they get it rolling quick, absolutely. And I know a lot of people, I still don't buy the rumor that Affleck's like, I want out of these movies. But some people have said, well, this could be an opportunity for them to say, okay, well, if you want out of this, we can write you out with Dick Grayson becoming Batman like in the DC films, and sort of like what they appear to be doing in the Marvel side with Chris Evans and the Winter Soldier becoming the new Captain America since what's-his-face, Bucky, is tied on for like 9 other films after Civil War, whereas Chris Evans was only tied to 1 or 2, which were the Infinity War films.
And he's expensive.
He's expensive and he wants to direct.
Oh, really?
Was his big thing. He definitely wants to direct. Probably something that he's either always wanted to do, wanted a hand in, and he knows if he continues to be Captain America, he probably will never have that chance to get that experience in and actually get going. Whereas Sebastian Stan's like, hey man, I'll be Captain America. I'm young. I don't care. Who doesn't take that role?
I'll do this shit forever, yeah.
So that wraps it up for our news this week. Ass pops, Nightwing films, Oscars that were very well earned.
Those two.
Godzilla noises, of course. But now we've got our weekly Patreon shout-outs of the week.
This week they go out to Alexander, whose Twitter handle is @SwordfishShow, and Lourdes and Katie.
I know Katie is very excited to see Deathstroke on the big screen. She's excited for the Deathstroke arc that's coming up in DC Rebirth. I want to say it's called like the Jericho contract. It's going to mix on over to Titans and then the Deathstroke annual. So that'll be pretty fucking huge for Deathstroke fans out there. And also Alexander, who is putting out the Madden videos, building up his team. Had a really good unbeatable run recently on Madden. Broken, but he definitely played extremely well and did some really good buys to build up his Madden Ultimate team. So huge thanks. Make sure to follow Alexander @SwordfishShow and check out his YouTube channel where he does put up a lot of gaming videos and Let's Plays.
You can also just type in purpleswordfish.com. That'll be a redirect to his YouTube channel.
This being the start of March, I do want to thank all of our Patreon backers, as always, for helping us out in getting this far. We do have that upgraded website, thereasonsimbroke.com, where we have the merch shop. If you like the podcast and you want to support the show, there's a variety of ways to do it. You can join us right here on Patreon with your shout out, patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke, for as little as $1 a month. That's less than a bag of chips. That equals out to about $0.25 an episode. You too can get your shout out right here on the show. You can also go on the merch shop where we have the t-shirts, various designs, various logos. Check out the t-shirts if you haven't. Don't have to buy anything, but at least check them out. thereasonsimbroke.com. And finally, if you're as broke as everyone else, you can also leave us a review on iTunes and on Stitcher. That definitely helps out in new brokettes finding the show and bumps us up a little bit higher on the games and hobbies rankings.
Like we say, guys, every week our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do, like Dan said, just leave us a review. Also, reach out to us on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke, @PalpaKelly. We're always interested to hear what you have to say, what you think of the show, what you thought about some of the things that we talked about. The reason we do this show is for all of you.
And I think most important of all, just thank you for tuning in and supporting us every single week as we release the show. That is the fuel that keeps us going. We actually, coming off of February, had a surge of I can't call it a trend yet, but January was our second best month in the podcast's history. And then last month was our third most downloaded month in the podcast's history, falling just short of eclipsing January's numbers. Mm-hmm. So we are just incredibly grateful that people are tuning in, that they're subscribing, and finding something in the show that they do enjoy and that they do like. And also a huge thanks to all of our listeners who are telling their friends, letting them know about the show, and suggesting it to hopefully friends that aren't easily offended. Especially with maybe last week's jokes. But huge thanks to all the listeners for tuning in, as always.
Yeah, we'll see what March brings with the extra couple of days. Because as we all know, February is that weird one when you get to the end of the rhyme. Do you still use that rhyme? I use that rhyme for everything.
Sometimes, but mostly I forget it.
Or you could use your knuckles. Did you know that was a thing too?
No, I didn't. That was never taught to me.
Yeah, so when you're on the top of your knuckle, it's 31. When you're on the inside of your knuckle, it's 30.
So that's not February. There's 28 in that.
I know, but it's a little less, okay? We all know that. See, look, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the gap in between is the month that has less than 31?
Yes. And then on the top is 31. I can't believe you didn't know this.
Never knew that. Never knew that.
I've taught you something new. You can still learn things from me. You still learn things about me.
I hope to forever learn things.
9 years later. That was sweet. Thank you.
We also want to thank DecalAvenue.com for the help at the $5 decal tier. But on to the comic book highlights for the week.
Mm-hmm. This week, we're going to highlight Detective Comics number 951. This is written by James Tynion IV, with art by Christian Douce, and the colorist is Alex Sinclair.
So the reason we want to highlight this one is it is the best Batman book out there right now. Mm-hmm. Out of all of the DC Rebirth books, if you could only afford one Batman comic, make it Detective Comics. But 2, it is a jumping on point. It is called League of Shadows Part 1, introducing Shiva to the world of the DC Rebirth Detective Comics.
This one was interesting and frustrating for me for a few reasons. And this is a lot of spoilers, guys. So if this is in your read pile and you haven't read it yet, go ahead and skip forward a little bit. We do have 2 other comics that we're giving a nod to, but we're going to spoil this one just a little bit. First, when they find that person dead, they're all like, oh, Batman did it. Like, he's never killed anybody before. What are you even talking about? That made me mad. Second, when they're talking about League of Assassins, Batman was like, nah, just a rumor. It's not real. I'm like, did you learn nothing from Court of Owls?
That's true. That's so true. I didn't even make that connection. Batman is not the guy to be like, nonsense.
He would research
this. Exactly. Like, it is nonsense, but I'm going to look into it.
Right. And because he was even like, well, there's never been definitive evidence for it. It's like, just look into it, Batman. Don't just brush it off as...
And there's a slight hint to him being like, okay, or I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what Batwoman tells him, like, either this is all a rumor or you're wrong. And I think if you were to read this book in the 80s, he would probably just look back and not think anything of it. But now it seems like a Batman that obviously trusts his teammates and is a little bit more open, and he says, or I'm wrong. So I think that was a spark in his head to be like, yeah, maybe I will look into the League of Assassins, which is really cool because even though it is Batman, you still see him progress and change and make good decisions. The other important thing that this established is that Spoiler is probably the strongest member of the Bat family.
Yeah.
And according to Batman, would kill him in a fight. Mm-hmm. She sees pressure points. She sees ways of execution constantly when she's existing at all times. She's always seeing everything. She's the one who figures out that the League of Assassins are operating without even knowing about the League of Assassins in Gotham. It's incredible how powerful of a character Spoiler is. And not in a way of like, it's like Superman, just overpowered, which I hate that fucking argument, by the way. But Spoiler is so incredibly effective, dangerous, has to be constantly stimulated so that she doesn't go off the handle and, do what she used to do or do what she was, I guess, trained or manipulated to do and just murder in the most efficient way possible. And it seems like Batman and the family are losing that slight grip or that control that they sort of have helped Spoiler with.
And we saw in, I believe, the previous episode, it looks like Shiva's going to come after her, which would be pretty interesting and scary. And I'm sure at some point she'll go over and help Shiva too, and it's going to be her against her Bat family, and we'll see what comes of that.
Good call. Spoiler will probably be the heart of this new arc, and I really can't wait to read it because she has been built up so well in Detective Comics. So again, that's Detective Comics number 951.
We do have 2 nods to give out, though, for some pretty great books this week. First up is Hulk, and the second is Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers.
Yeah, Hulk number 3 released, and it was on our pile. Very good fucking series. I know we had reviewed issue 1 and said that it was a start of what it was hopefully a promising title, and so far it has been. I mean, 3 issues in, it is an incredible book. I think the 3rd issue was probably the best one so far. It's unraveling the mystery of who her client is. It's about She-Hulk taking on all of these cases that reflect on her inner struggles after what happened in Civil War. While Civil War II may not have been taken as well among readers, Hulk is doing something, building off of it, and I think doing something better than what Civil War II did. And it's so great to see the growth in She-Hulk.
There's a lot of heart to this series, which is what I'm appreciating most, but I think a lot of people can also relate to it, especially those who have been through a traumatic incident, or those who are suffering with depression, or feeling like they're not themselves, or feeling like they have to hide themselves, because that's exactly what She-Hulk, what this superhero that everybody looks up to, is going through. And so she's relatable on a whole lot of different levels. In this issue in particular, we see her best friend show up and say, hey, you haven't been answering my calls. What's going on with you? And she pretty much blows her off and says, I don't want you to be around right now. And her friend comes back and says, look, I'm going to keep showing up even though you don't want me here, because that's the kind of support that I have for you. And I think that's very encouraging. That's what other friends need to do for their friends also in these situations.
I know we're not reading a ton of Marvel right now, and we're not the only ones, but if you do want to pick up something that is definitely on the solid side, I think the 2 books we would recommend at the moment would be Silver Surfer and Hulk. Spider-Man is good as well, but it's not to the level that we're seeing with these other two titles. The other big debut was Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers number 0. I know you passed on it because you don't have an investment in either video game. For me, it was, I'm reading Street Fighter Unlimited, and I love the Darkstalkers. We're not going to see that another Darkstalkers game, unfortunately, because the sales just weren't there when they re-released them on the PlayStation 3. And they came out and said, the interest is simply not enough for us to invest in a whole new game, just like they did with Street Fighter 4. So instead, we're seeing them in Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers, which I think is the latest time. Since then, it was that re-release on the PlayStation 3, and that was years ago. Now they're using these characters again, which is great. Udon used to have the solo Darkstalkers book. It was eventually canceled. The sales didn't match up to Street Fighter, but when they mixed them together, it had the potential to, do something really neat with the characters. And there are some great moments that you see in Street Fighter Unlimited. There's the fights that you want to see between these characters and these other ones here. This Zero issue is more of an introductory one. But the one thing I will say, and it's the biggest fault on it, is that if you did not read Street Fighter Unlimited, you will be lost on several things with Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers 0. And that's an unfortunate thing because they also don't do a good job of catching you up on, okay, well, why is this villain teaming up with this one? And again, if you read Unlimited, but if you didn't, they don't explain that to you. And they don't say, well, this is why this character is here now. And it's unfortunate, but I guess if you're reading Street Fighter Unlimited, go for it. It's on par with the rest of those books. But if you aren't, the story will suffer and fall short for you. But otherwise, if anything, just to see more Darkstalkers material, it's worth the pickup.
And with that, we will wrap up our podcast for the week. Remember, you guys can always hit us up on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke, at Palpakelly. Let us know what you thought of this episode, things you want to hear on the next episode. Hit up our hashtag games that Daniel's putting up every month. And of course, for all the links to places you can find us, you can go to thereasonsi'mbroke.com.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
We'll see you next week.